Hey everybody, welcome to a Market Minute. Back from Montreal, back from the world premiere. Man, I had a ton of fun up there. I sound like a broken record, but world premieres are always fun. If you can make it to one, try to get out to one in the future because it's just a different vibe out there. This week we're going to have a little bit different episode. We're not going to look at current pricing on cards, things moving around too much. That'll come next week. There are 6 reprints in Super Slam. We always look at 6 cards a week, so I said, you know what? Let's review the reprinted cards, kind of look back in the past, take a look at where they're at, their peaks over the last year as far as pricing, and then look at where they're at right now, talk about them a little bit, and go through it. Just look at where we're at and where we're going on these cards. All right, and the first one up here is Felling of the Crown. Super Slam currently sitting at the non-foil version, that is. And there is only a non-foil version in Super Slam, just under $22 at $21.76. Comparing that with the Rosetta version, non-foil sitting at $30, rainbow foil sitting at $61.96 currently. We're comparing the non-foil versions, same art, they'll be indistinguishable, right? The only difference will be the little card numbers at the bottom. So I expect this to even out, right? Also, I would say I would expect this price to go down even more as Super Slam more comes onto the market, more stores load their stock online, more people open Super Slam. I would expect this to shift down a little bit. And then I would expect the non-foils to converge at the same price. There might always be something a little weird going on, a couple dollars here or there, but they should convert. Current heroes, we got 3 heroes right now, 3 Earth heroes. Y'all, Florian, and Verdance that can play this. Yeah, so they all run 3 of this. This card is super good. It's a 3 of in every Earth deck. There was a lot of pressure on this card, especially when Florian was very good. And of looking back over the last year, this card saw a peak non-foil price of $77 back in May. And it was sitting around $50 before the reveal of the reprint. So we're coming down from $50 to that $21 mark right now. And then also a little bit further back, $77 and down. Because I think Earth Heroes are like a fan favorite. I love playing Florian, so I understand that. And he was super good and top of the meta before High Seas, right? So that put a lot of pressure on this card as well. Along with Plow, this is the newest of the cards to be reprinted in Super Slam. At $77, I can see that price point triggering a reprint from LSS for sure. The current stock right now on the Rosetta side is 97 for the non-foils, 53 for the rainbow foils. And I put a little thing there and I want to talk about for each one of these cards. And this is going to change actually as we look through the reprints from this set. The collector version, or I always talk about what version of the card is going to be, that price is going to be a little bit more sticky if you own rainbow foils from Rosetta. That's the card that the price is going to be a little bit sticky. And you can see it here, right? It's at $61. That is where the non-foil was. A $10 premium before the reprint even was announced. So that makes sense. But now the only place you can get the rainbow foils is from Rosetta. Yeah, interesting overall. I think Earth Heroes will probably come back. We saw Florian come back a little, and that will always apply pressure to this card. So we got a reprint of it, and we'll just have to see. I think if they print another Earth Hero, say Terra, an adult Terra, an origin deck of some sort, just spitballing, this is a 3 of. And it will be a 3 of in any Earth Hero that they print that runs any amount of blues because you have to pay for this card. And as I'd mentioned, we're going to talk about Plow Under as well. A lot of the same points carry over with Plow Under, right? Very popular heroes, Florian and Verdance. Yarrow is also in there playing this card just because it's very good. Arsenal Hate, 2 for 6. Blocks 3, does all the things you want it to do, decomposes. We're currently sitting at $12.34 for the non-foil from Super Slam, $14.69 from Rosetta for the non-foil, and $34.80 for the rainbow foil. Now, there only being a non-foil in a Super Slam means that, again, the rainbow foil from Rosetta is that card that's going to be hold its price during this reprint phase, the collector version. And we can see that from the price, right? It's $34.80 for the rainbow foil version because that's the only place you can get it is from Rosetta, and that was almost a year ago. Now, if we look back a year, Plow Under's peak was at $60. This is back in May, alongside of Felling, obviously, because Verdance and Florian were top of the meta. So yes, that makes sense. And if we look just before the reveal of the reprint, this was sitting around $30 to $35 for the non-foil. So we see that reduction in about 65% of the price already. I also think that, just like on Felling, that this is a pre-release price. And I think as we get more Super Slam opened and loaded online, we see that $12 come down even more. Pre-sale, be careful. Things are always high. And I think this is still following that trend as well for both Felling. Actually, all these cards that we're going to talk about today. So keep an eye on that. Again, I only really see the rainbow foil holding its price just because the only place you can get it is from Rosetta, which was opened a year ago or released a year ago. That $60 price point, and then the heroes being very popular, probably also triggered that reprint. Felling and Plow, they're basically hand in hand. That makes sense. All right, and the last majestic reprint from Super Slam is Snag. So non-foil sitting at $27.95 on pre-sale from Super Slam on TCG Player. Crucible at War, we're looking at $24.89 for the non-foil, $38.57 for the rainbow foil unlimited. Current stock 65 non-foils, so just over 20 play sets, and 6 rainbow foils. Yeah, we saw over the last year on this card a peak of almost $40 for the non-foil. The price hasn't really moved that much on this just yet. So it's very interesting on this one. They just banned bonds, which I think is a huge factor. Snag got to that $40 mark really on the back of bonds, right? And Slippy just being one of the most dominant heroes in the meta for a whole season. And if you wanted to beat bonds, you put Snag in your sideboard and you sided it in to attack the assassins, right? And it was Slippy, but there was other assassins as well. And this all started with New, even before she LL'd, right? This card Snag just started creeping up and up. And then Hunter came out and we got more decks that played bonds and so on and so forth. Now that bonds has been banned, I think we start to see the non-foils price really come down just because there really isn't a card that you want to target with this anymore. Leave a comment down below. I did a cursory look on what I think the meta is going to be moving forward, and I didn't really find a target. If you have an argument that there's still a reason for a Snag to be in sideboards, leave a comment. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on it as well. But right now, as Tech for Bonds is gone, so I see this price start falling down. But as I had mentioned in previous market minutes, there was no white border of this card, which a lot of Crucible cards got a white border reprint. So that did supplement a lot of those cards' inventory. So Crucible was a long time ago. Maybe that's what they were thinking on this one, and especially since assassins were so prevalent for so long. And we just saw this card reach almost $40 over the last year. All right, we're moving into the legendary reprints. So we saw the reprint at legendary starting and then the Hunted with Command and Conquer. And now we got Warmonger's Diplomacy. Now this one's pretty interesting, and that's why I put up that little collector's version, because in the previous cards, it's really just been the rainbow foil version of the card from its original set. But this one's a little bit different, and you can see there. From Super Slam, we only got a rainbow foil and a cold foil version of this one. Rainbow foil version sitting at $48 from Super Slam. Cold foil version, this price is from Star City Games, but it is sold out at $119.99, so it's confirmed sales at $120. TCG Player is just way out of bounds right now on that one, so I think that's a more representative number. And we look back at Dust Till Dawn, where Warmonger's Diplomacy was first released. Non-foil sitting at $39.78. Rainbow foil sitting at $43.20. Looking over the last year, back when Azalea was still in the meta, also Viserai was also still in the meta, I believe at the same time, back in December of 2024. This card peaked out at $92 a piece for the non-foils. And before it was revealed that it was reprinted, it was sitting at $50 a piece. So we really haven't seen this card move down too much, right? If you look at the Dust Till Dawn versions, $39.78 versus $50 before the reveal. But there is only one non-foil version of this card. And I would say the version of this card now that has the sticky pricing, that the collector version of this card is going to be the cold foil from the newest set. People, at least for me, cold foil is the pinnacle. It's always, that's how it just works in Fab. So now we have a new pinnacle version. We have a new rainbow foil version, legendary, with new art. So, we got that new art, right? It's themed to this set. We got Lyeth in there as well. We got Pallades in the art as well. So if you're a fan of these heroes, maybe you look to the rainbow foils of these cards or the cold foil version. And maybe that pressure moving to the new art, to the new version, brings down the price of the Dust Till Dawn versions. And it's interesting from LSS to, like, within the set, try a different version of reprints. And maybe if they feel that it's successful over the next year and the prices adjust to what they feel is proper, we see more cards reprinted like this, because it does help them sell boxes, right? It puts a fancy version in the new box, and then it also brings the old version onto the market with people replacing with the fancy version. Let's see if that works out. As far as the pricing of this card, I do think that we're going to see these prices come down. Maybe the cold foil version a little bit, but the non-foil and the rainbow foil versions, I do think they come down, because as of right now, I don't really think this card's in the meta too much. And Flesh and Blood, if you're not playing the card, there will be a reduction in price there. But Rune Blades are always on the horizon. We don't know what's coming, right? There could be some heroes that really this card attacks. It's always been pretty niche, but it's always been very powerful. It's a stop what you're doing, maybe win the game type card against certain heroes. And that's always going to be, people are going to look at it when a hero like that gets to the top of the meta. Maybe Lyeth is a hero that climbs his way to the top of the meta, and Lyeth uses a lot of pumps, and Warmonger's Diplomacy is just sitting right there. It's possible that's why we saw the reprint of this card in Super Slam, to, like, as a safety valve against Lyeth, because he does need to use a lot of non-attacks to pump his attacks. And if you shut that down, you really take the power and the sting out of his deck for at least a turn or two throughout the game. Last thing I want to say is current stock and TCG player, again, backs up by being out of the meta right now. 148 non-foils from Dust Till Dawn, 42 rainbow foils. We'll have to see where the stock comes in on the Super Slam versions as we get more and more loaded on TCG player. Maybe we revisit this card in the upcoming weeks. We'll keep an eye on that. All right, and the next card here is Flick Knives. We got new art. We got a non-foil version of this card sitting at 52.46. We got a rainbow foil EA version of this card sitting at $88.99 right now. Outsiders, rainbow foil is sitting at $75. Cold foil is sitting at $125. We got 41 rainbow foils, 15 cold foils. Current heroes, a ninja and assassin, there's a number of them. 4 right off the top of the deck. Katsu could technically play this card as well, but he really doesn't. The collector version, I would say, is going to be your cold foil version, again, just like we talked about on Warmongers. And Fab, the bling version is almost always the cold foil version for most players and most collectors. So it's sitting at that 125 mark right there. We look back a year, we saw this card peak out at 160 for the rainbow foil version. And this is a core armor piece for Syndra. I think that's possibly the thinking here on reprinting this card, is that it's just at 160, it's really hard to pick up Syndra when you start adding it up and just her arms alone. And there's no other option to fit it in there. I can see where this reprint's coming from on this one. Again, pre-release pricing, I suspect these to go down a little bit more as more gets loaded in, but it'll be interesting to see where it goes. The one thing I also, before moving on, to note too, is that art preference, I think, might come into play on this one. Talking to locals and talking to people online, some people really like this card for its art. It's very themed to Syndra as well. Maybe there is some of that push and pull there, upgrading to the new art if you're playing Syndra. Maybe you stick with the old art if you're playing Assassin, keeping the theme. Sometimes that happens in Fab. I do it myself as well. So it'll be interesting to see how this one shakes out. I think these prices come down, right? Other than maybe the cold foil, since there is only 15 on TCG Player. And that's pretty low inventory for a legendary. All right, and the last card here is New Horizon. Same treatment. We got a non-foil and we got a rainbow foil EA. Non-foil sitting at 57.40, rainbow foil EA sitting at 95. The rainbow foil from Tails sitting at 89.99, cold foil sitting at $75 even. Some weirdness on this one. I think we're just, again, I think we're in like an early pre-sale pricing meta in this one. Rainbow foil pricing and tails is always a little weird if you pay attention to it. I think it's because of the print numbers push some sales around a bit on this one. So maybe that's why we're seeing the tails version of that card sitting a little bit higher than the cold foil. Current stock from tails is 78 rainbow foils, 51 cold foils. Current heroes, really no heroes play this, but Riptide and Marlin could play it, but it doesn't really make their deck. It doesn't do the thing that they want to do. Again, art preference on this one, but the cold foil from tails does have the lower inventory, and it is a cold foil. So we'll have to see how that goes. As far as the 95, again, sitting up towards that Flick Knives area on the EA. We'll have to see how hard it is to pull the EA rainbow foils of these two new cards. But I can see this pricing coming down, right? It's already come down quite a bit. If we look back over the last year, push this card to 160 for the cold foil, 140-ish for the rainbow foil. So there was a lot of hype. But before the reprint was revealed, it was sitting around $80, right? Depending on the day. Just again, because if it doesn't really see play, those prices aren't really going to fluctuate quickly and go to those higher prices. Flick Knives went to 160 because it's very playable. But yeah, the interesting overall. We'll have to see on this one. Maybe we get a Ranger in 2026 that really wants to play New Horizon. It's just not playable at the moment. Maybe Lexi, people want to try LL out, right? This gives them a way to try Living Legend format in Lexi with a little less sting of that $160 or over $100 for the helmet. But other than that, this one's kind of a wait and see as well. But all right, that's going to do it for this week. Thanks for everyone for watching. We'll check you next time. Peace.